invoice ng 200,000 pesos. Upload natin ang 5 parts bukas tuwing Sabado. Family Feud.
5:40 p.m.
Welcome to my episode that is called
Nagmamano pa.
That's okay.
PM today.
2 p.m. today.
This is DW News, and these are our top stories. EU leaders have agreed to support Ukraine with 90 billion euros to fund its defense against Russia. The deal, agreed at a summit in Brussels, requires repayment only if Russia pays reparations to Ukraine after the war. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz called the agreement a clear signal to Russian leader Vladimir Putin. The European Commission has postponed the signing of a controversial free trade deal with the South American Mercosur countries until January amid opposition from farmers and key member states. Furious farmers marched on Brussels to protest the deal. Many say they fear being undercut by cheap food imports from Latin America. Amnesty International says Tanzanian security forces used unlawful lethal force to crush election protests between October 29th and November 3rd. Its latest report says officers fired live rounds, beat protesters, and moved victims' bodies to undisclosed locations. Hundreds were killed or injured in post-election violence. Tanzania's president has announced an inquiry, but civil groups question its independence. This is DW News from Berlin. You'll find much more on our website at dw.com.
Hi, I'm Kim Vinnell in Wanganui, New Zealand.
New
It's
Zealand.
December 18th. Today, Reuters uncovers what analysts are calling China's Manhattan Project, a prototype chipmaker to rival the West in AI. Trump airs his grievances in a holiday speech. And Warner Brothers urges stakeholders to refuse a hostile takeover bid from Paramount Skydance. This is Reuters World News, bringing you everything you need to know from the front lines in 10 minutes, 7 days a week. We start in China. Reuters has learned the country has secretly built a prototype of one of the world's most advanced chip-making machines, the project insiders describe as China's Manhattan Project. Its technology Washington has spent years trying to keep out of Beijing's hands and moves China much closer to producing its own chips to power AI, smartphones, and modern weapons. Fanny Potkin in Singapore is the reporter on the story.
So this is the first time that China has built a working prototype for this machine, which is the key to producing the world's most advanced chips. And it is years ahead of Western estimates. So how did they make this? China recruited former engineers from a Dutch company that's the only one in the world that makes those machines and had them reverse engineer the technology. So we actually learned that some of those engineers were given fake IDs to work in secret, and they worked with research institutes all across China to develop homegrown alternatives to parts that they couldn't get. So one of our sources told us that the team made a breakthrough once it built the prototype to be as big as possible instead of earlier attempts to replicate the size of the Dutch one. Research centers, development centers all across China, with the help and coordination from Huawei, who was involved in entire teams on this. This is fundamentally about China's push for technological self-sufficiency. What it wants is to protect itself. It wants the US 100% kicked out of its supply chain. It's about strategic independence, It's not about commercial competition, which is why some of our sources told us that this project is compared to the Manhattan Project, because it is seen as so strategically important to China and to China's leadership.
The sources spoke on condition they not be identified due to the confidentiality of the project. Chinese authorities did not respond to requests for comment. Speaking of strategically important to China, we now go to Taiwan and Washington's largest ever arms sale to the island nation. It's an $11 billion package that includes rocket systems, howitzers, anti-tank missiles, and drones. Taiwan's defense ministry says the deal is about boosting its ability to carry out asymmetric warfare as China ramps up military pressure on the island, which Beijing claims as its own. In the US, efforts to rein in President Donald Trump's aggression toward Venezuela has failed in the House of Representatives. It comes as speculation mounts that the president is going to launch an attack on the South American nation. President Nicolas Maduro has responded to Trump's order for a blockade on oil tankers by saying Venezuela will continue to trade.
Y Venezuela seguirá comerciando todos sus productos.
The Venezuelan Navy is now escorting some ships through its waters, and the country has requested a UN Security Council meeting over what Maduro calls ongoing US aggression. The House Democrats warn millions of people could now lose coverage. The Senate isn't expected to revisit the issue or hold a vote until January. Now to markets, and BP has appointed its first female CEO, Meg O'Neill, after the abrupt departure of Murray Auchincloss. Elsewhere, US inflation data is big news on our sister podcast, Morning Bid. Here's Mike Dolan.
Hi, Kim. Yeah, the government data is coming thick and fast. It's like uncorking a bottle. We hadn't data for many weeks during the government shutdown, and now we get a torrent. Today's November consumer price report is top of mind for anyone looking at the macroeconomy at this point, including the Fed. But it's also going to be interesting for the White House and for Donald Trump as well. Last night he was giving us a list of his economic achievements, including, as he described it, getting prices down. But the inflation rate that's expected today is going to be above 3%, and that's back above where it was in February, the month after his inauguration. So work to do, you might think.
You can listen to Morning Bid wherever you get your podcasts. In a court in Los Angeles, Nick Rayner, the younger son of Hollywood director Rob Rayner, has made his first appearance, charged with murdering his parents in their LA home. The 32-year-old appeared wearing a blue protective vest and did not enter a plea. If convicted, Nick Rayner faces life in prison or the death penalty. The hunt for the gunman who killed 2 Brown University students has entered its 5th day, and there's no indication that authorities have grown closer to identifying the suspect. Providence Police Chief Oscar Perez said of the killer on Wednesday, he could be anywhere. Paramount of misleading shareholders about financing. The board says Netflix's offer, a cash and stock deal which amounts to just over $70 billion, is binding and far less risky. Business of Entertainment reporter Dawn Chmielewski says as Warner Brothers shareholders have the final say, as far as Paramount is concerned, there's still time.
Paramount issued a statement saying, we're proceeding ahead with our offer. We disagree with the conclusions of Warner Brothers board. We are offering $30 cash. Our funding is guaranteed. We think we have a superior offer, and that, by the way, the winning bidder, Netflix, is going to be in for more regulatory woes. Paramount has a time period where its $30 share offer lapses. That's on January 8th. Meanwhile, Warner Brothers shareholders and Netflix's shareholders have a say in the matter. They're both publicly traded companies. Both of those companies will have to publish proxies describing the nature of the transaction fully to shareholders and giving them an opportunity to vote yea or nay. That's likely to happen next year.
for today's recommended read, we travel to Japan, where AI romance has bloomed and a woman has wed the virtual partner of her dreams. There's a link to that in the description. For more on any of the stories from today, check out Reuters.com or the Reuters app. Don't forget to follow us on your favourite podcast player. If you're listening on a smart speaker, just ask for the latest news from Reuters 7 days a week. We'll be back tomorrow with our daily headline show.
That's it for your news updates. To see more stories, open Google News.